Okay, so time to take on part B. We'll scroll down to part B, look at the description. Consider the following class. So we've got a partial class again. It doesn't mean we're going to have to make a new file. It's called test results. And what happens in here? All answers in the sheet have the same number of answers. Okay, that sounds familiar. It's equal to the number of answers in which the answer sheet and sheets. Oh boy, this sounds complicated. String highest score student, array list, string key. And what do we have to do? Write the test results method highest scoring student. Highlight that, which returns the name of the student who received the highest score. Okay. So right away we can probably assume we're going to need some kind of instance variable for name. If there's more than one student with a high score, the name of any of these student or high scoring students may be returned. You may assume the size of each answer key represented is equal to the size of the array list key, same as the other question. So they're not going to, we wouldn't end up with a number in the answer key from a student where the total number of answers was different from the answer key. In writing the highest score, assume that get score works as specified. Okay, now get score is what we did in part A. So we're going to assume it works now. We happen to know that it works. Let's close this down and let's get to work. So let's start by creating a new file. We're going to call that test results.java as usual. And we did get a few clues. One of the clues is that we're going to be calling get score from inside of test results. And that's going to cause a little bit of a difficulty here. Here, let's get all the information that we already know in place and ready to go here. We don't actually know a whole lot about this method. I'm going to go back to before we even have to deal with this. We know that we've got array lists. Let's just put that line in there so we can import what we need to make them functional. Okay, public string, so we need to return a string here. If we try to run this, we should get an error, hopefully. It'd be awkward if we didn't. Yeah, okay, missing return statement. Save this, and there we go. We're going to be calling, once again, we're going to be calling getScore from test results. So if that's the case, some of what we have in here is going to cause us some grief. So I'm going to get rid of this and this. We shouldn't need those lines. In fact, we won't need these lines either. We needed those objects because we were using those objects to make calls to getScore directly. But we're not going to be doing that from main. So again, we can get rid of all of that stuff. So let's go back to student answer sheet. And it's time to finish off getName. And we know we're probably going to be returning name. But that means that we should have an instance variable called name. So we need to add that up here. And we also are going to want to make that part of, whenever we create an instance of the object, we're going to want to have a name associated with it as well too. So we're going to put it in there and we'll save this. Oh, you know what? One more thing we're going to need to do is we'll need to go this.name equals name. And we need to specify that this is a string. There we go. Okay. See if this compiles without grief. So let's go back to create test results class and see if we can get going on this thing. What exactly are we trying to do in here? Well, we want to run for each time, for each object, which we don't actually have. Remember, we commented out our object instantiations. And so we're going to need some other method to get objects working. In fact, you're going to have to be test result objects. So what I'm going to do is create an instance of test results right at the top of my program. So all we've done is we've made an object called sheets, which is an object of test results. Now, we don't know yet if we need a constructor. Let's just wait and see on that. Let's go back to my program here. And we're going to want to test this to see if that's actually working. And so to test that, what we'll do is we'll test it with the marked object. So we'll go to test results, and we're going to do a system out. Okay, we'll save this, we'll run. Fortunately, there's no errors, but we haven't actually called highest scoring student yet. But we'll use our sheets object to do that. I guess the first thing we need to do though is we need to add a new student answer sheet object. And we're going to add this onto Sheets. Okay, let's see if we've got anything working here. And it doesn't like that. It says it's out of scope. May have forgotten to declare or add student answer sheet. Okay, so add is not working right now, so we need to fix that. And this add, by the way, I should mention, is different than the built-in. Let's just call it adds. So we save some grief here. Okay, so that's going to look something like this. And now we're using the built-in add to add this value, okay, into Sheets. So we have a new instance that we're adding onto that by running this line without the L. All right, hopefully everything's in place. Now we need to load up that class, and we've already got Mark in here. So let's do the same for Maria. Now we should probably do a test on this add class. So let's just go and we'll run this again. We should see that twice. Hopefully you see what's going on here. What we did was we created a test results instance called Sheets. Okay, our object is called Sheets. Then we use Sheets, adds, okay, or add, it could be add as long as we change the name back over here. New student answer sheet, answers Mark. And so there's two things that we're sending in here, Mark's answers, but we're also sending the name as well too. And so that's for student answer sheet. And remember, we modified that constructor so that it takes two values. The first argument is an array list with the marks, and the second one is a string with the name. Okay, so let's see if we can get this to actually work now. And we need to call highest scoring student because we haven't actually done that yet. So we'll go back here. Sheets is our object. So we've created objects. Let's go. And we did put an output here. So let's see if we can run this. Oops. Okay, test high score. So that's good. Let's get rid of the adding. We don't need that anymore. Could comment that out, but let's just keep things tidy. And we also don't need this test high score. We know that that is actually running. It's not returning anything yet. It is going to return a name though, so we can actually put that in here. So it's time to get highest scoring student actually working. So this shouldn't be too difficult. All we should need to do is cycle through each object stored in Sheets, and for each of those we need to check the scores and compare them to find which one is the highest and then to return the name. Okay, so we're going to need a couple of variables here for sure. We're going to need a double. Just call it. Now we need to cycle through each element in Sheets. I'm just going to do a quick test again. And we've got an error. We forgot to declare name or it's out of scope. Okay, yes, we did forget to declare it. In fact, it's going to be called high name. There we go. And now all we need to do is do the actual comparison. So it'll look something like this. Let's just say it out loud first. If this current sheet we're working on, once we return that score, if it's higher than the high score, then we need to reassign that score to the high score. The other thing we need to do, because that's our only method of figuring out which is the high score. Once we get that high score, we've got to retrieve the name of the person who got that high score, which shouldn't be hard to do. Okay, again, that's in student answer sheet. That's right here, get name. We'll use the get name method. And then we'll assign that to high name, and then we'll return that at the end. So let's start coding. And key is one of the arguments that we sent, or is the argument, the array list, the answer key in other words. So if this current sheet, and we want to go ahead and get from Sheets, we want to get the first value, which is going to be Mark. Okay, We want to get the score key, and we want to see if that value that's returned is greater than the high score. And if it is, just copy and paste it. And we also want to remember that the high score name, or high name, I'll copy that, is going to be equal to sheets.getI.getName. You know, maybe what we'll do is we'll output the values. Yeah, just so we can do some testing here. We'll output the scores. Oh, we need to close that off. As usual, I've forgotten a round brace. Okay, there's our two scores. That's a good sign. And we could also do this. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this. We should put this inside of main right here. And hopefully, because the value is returned, so it should print whatever is returned. And there we go. Marie's got the high score. All right, I think we're done. We have finally solved this problem. Yahoo!